So can you tell me about the time that you met Jack Croneen? Can you tell me how that came about and why it came about?
My dad, he was always making models, model cars, model aeroplanes. He used to race Scalextrics. Rochester Model Club. He'd make his own models. He'd make his own aeroplanes. He'd fly them, remote controlled aeroplanes. And one day he was talking to a man called Jack Croneen at his club, who was a member of his club, and saying what I'd been doing with the plaza. And Jack said he was interested in having a look at the pictures, because he said that his dad had built the plaza. And so I got in touch with him, and I arranged to meet him, go to his house, because he's very old, go to his house and interview him with a tape recorder and find out everything I could about running what it was like to run a cinema back in those days.
And what year was this roughly?
It was in the year 2000, I'm sure. I did about 3 interviews with him and put it together, gradually asked him more and more questions. I've transcribed it, written it all down, and here we are.
About these citizens.
Yeah.
I am Jack Croneen, and I lived in Gillingham all my life, and my father before me, and his father before him. My father realised in 1914 that these cinemas were a very good entertainment for the masses and also cheap. So he built, as his first cinema, the Invicta Gillingham. Then afterwards he built Invictus Chatham and Invictus Strood. A little later on he bought the Cinema Ashford. He built the Plaza in 1931, my brother and myself to manage. The other cinemas had either been leased out or pulled down by then. The Plaza originally was 1,850 seats, was all electrically heated, and had all the latest equipment, Ernim 5 projectors with water-cooled heads, because if you had to lace up a film quickly, the frame in the gate would buckle. Therefore, they were water-cooled. Originally, the Plaza had motor generators which supplied 100 volts, 150 amps to ballast resistances in the projection room. The projectors were German-made Ernim 5s, which were reckoned at that time to be the Rolls-Royce of projectors and were therefore one of the dearest. My brother died soon after the 1939 war ended. I had to come home and look after the business. At that time I was out in the Channel Islands as engineer on a tank landing craft, and we were dumping German ammunition in various stores into the Herd Deep. It was quite a wrench because I was enjoying myself, and to come back and argue with the renters, or the travellers of the renters. It took quite a bit of getting used to. I was certainly enjoying myself in the Channel Islands. At that time, you used to have travellers on the road who would come and see me, and we would bargain for different films and different dates. We had what was called the ABC release. Grand had the Odeon release. One point that used to interest people when they came to the plaza was the brazier, which was in the lounge. The corner fire dogs were actually antique Louis XIV, and the heating elements were 4 kilowatt. This my father bought from Magical Limited, who had manufactured it. When we started doing some bingo, as well as cinema, we ran the bingo in conjunction with Mr Squire. And as at that particular time, the electricity supply was not very good through strikes, etc., we put in a 25 kilowatt diesel generator so that bingo sessions should not be interrupted. Because when you have about 1,800 people wanting to play bingo and the lights fail, nobody's going to be very happy. Nuisance to us was that owing to the barring system, no films could be shown in Gillingham if Chatham wanted them first. There had to be a 7 days clear period from the last showing of a film, let's say at the ABC Chatham, because I said before we had the ABC release. The plaza could show a film, publicity had to be changed. If as unfortunately it sometimes did, the Chatham date was altered, it meant the plaza had to alter their date, which sometimes created quite a bit of trouble. Barring system, so I'm told from an old cinema traveller friend of mine, has now been done away with approximately 10 years ago, as the renters in London have realised that if they wanted to advertise a film on television, they could not get the full benefit from it if only a certain number of cinemas were playing the film. And also there has been a technical upgrading, and the system now is that all the prints in use in the United States are brought in, treated, and then exported to England, or the United Kingdom, as I suppose I should say. And so more cinemas could show the film at the same time, therefore get the full benefit of the TV advertising. The system of renting out films, generally the film is made at the studios, cut, and then printed as many copies as are required, and then they are sent to the London distributors into the vaults, and on the days they are required, they are sent out generally by road transport to the various cinemas. And renters have realised that if they are going to spend a lot of money on advertising films on television, the only way to recoup the money was by playing the film at as many cinemas as possible on the same days. Therefore, there has been quite a turnaround of what it used to be, and also technical developments, I am told, in the United States. It has come about that all the films in the United States, when they have finished their run, are taken in and treated with this new process and then exported to the United Kingdom. So you will find a terrific number of films all over the country playing the same film at the same time. The type of people you were dealing with in the 30s and 40s were vastly different to those when, in the last few years, when I was managing the plaza. In those days, whole families used to come to the cinema very often on the same day every week. I often had people come up to me and say, I didn't like this week's program as much as last, but the trailers for next week's look good. See you next week. But then it got that the families were more interested in stopping at home to watch television. And you got the younger element, some of whom could be a nuisance. Also, the language used in films is so bad some days that when I see a film on television, after a few minutes I turn it off. So by and large, I'm glad that I got out of the business, which I did in the 1980.